Ascultă bine, un nebun așa ca mine.
And this definitely reminds me a lot of like Indian Bollywood ballad kind of music. Is he from Romania? Because he's singing like, you know, in Arabic, Indian, Middle Eastern pop kind of ways.
O Carolina balam, dă jos fusta o Carolina Jambala. Hello viața o Carolina balam, hai vino ca o Carolina.
I can't really tell what. Give me 1 second to think about it, because the way he's singing, it reminds me of the way that like ska singers from bands like Real Big Fish or something like that will kind of just like sing. And with the instrumentation, it kind of reminds me of like almost ska music more than anything else. Yeah, it's very. It's. I'm gonna listen for just a couple more seconds. I'm locked in the chorus where he's.
Hai vino fată ca să ți-l fac chiar poziția 43, 53, 63.
I would never associate that music with sex.
Nu mai vei.
This it reminds me a lot of like DMX. It's like they were going for like a DMX vibe, but it's funny because the sounds are like even back to that 90s hip hop instead of like, you know, 2000s hip hop. It's like it's just a couple years behind the sound that I would expect hip hop from that year to be from. But the visuals and stuff are like, it's fun. It's definitely I don't know if I'm supposed to be judging the music video, but I think it's a cool video as well. It's interesting because I'm looking at what US songs were big in like 2002, 2003, just to compare for the last song as far as time period, and it's like, you know, Crazy in Love from Beyonce came that year, and to think of like the sounds of that's happening alongside the sounds of Bug Mafia. It's really interesting to see like where it's like slowly the new sounds are rolling out across the world. The visuals, it has the production sounds of something that you at least could, you know, in that same kind of timeless way, play it on the radio again and again in years going forward without it sounding too out of place. And yeah, it's really rocking that Latin sound again. I love that. This one's my favorite one so far, I think. Trap music is typically something where there's a driving hi-hat all the way through. There is the lyric where he says Gucci 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 Balenciaga. But other than that, maybe I can't, if I could understand the lyrics or had them translated in front of me or something, maybe I'd get that better. But other than that, which is definitely something that's in trap songs like Migos, yeah, it's really rocking the Spanish style stuff on the Latin side. But it's funny, you could probably play this one on Latin radio, and other than Spanish speakers not necessarily understanding the words, it would probably be fine.
Pe stradă fustițe scurte și bluzițe transparente, blonde, brune și roșcate, sunt aproape dezbrăcate.
Yeah, we're back to that super Spanish sound, but it's like Spanish polka sound, for lack of more knowledge of what to put in. It's like I can't remember what it's called, but there's a section particularly of Mexican music where it's like folk music and it's mixed with the pop sound, but there's a little bit more of like the storytelling behind it that's going on and like things like that. It kind of sounds to me more like that. This one, you know, it has all the sounds that you'd be expecting for something at that time. As far as like coming right out of the 90s, this one's on the money. Yeah, definitely. That one's got more of like a timeless kind of sound than some of the other ones do, I think. Oh, that's wild. The vocal line is super haunting. What is Wow, I just can't imagine something like that playing on the radio. It's funny because that vocal is just so unique. It's a little more adult-centric instead of maybe to kids in MTV era, but also I think, I mean, obviously it's Macho Man and they're saying Spanish words throughout the song, so I don't know how much other songs from this artist would reflect the kind of genre crossover that it has. But yeah, this one makes a lot more sense to me as far as the kind of music that would get up to the top of the charts, just based on my knowledge of like what would get up there in, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. But I think it's interesting. It's funny. Okay, so I'm gonna stop that one now. It reminds me of like polka music, and it's super funny to be seeing that as something that like kids and teenagers are dancing around to. But it's interesting. What are they singing about? I mean, this reminds me just like a lot of Eminem, like mega early kind of hip hop sound. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that one. It just sounds like, it reminds me of Eminem, except with indie guitars a little bit instead of just beats. So it's interesting to me because like 2010 is like, you know, There Goes My Baby from Usher and things like that, and or I Like It by Enrique Iglesias, and then you've got this one which has an accordion in it. It's super funny to think of an accordion being something that would be played late at night on like a cool, credible rap pop mainstream record, but it definitely works for driving the sound in that kind of way that sounds regional instead of just the instrumentation on this one, and the way that just from a couple of the songs that the singer is rapping or speaking or telling the story, I'm starting to understand what the sound is like a little bit better. Funny, it's the same thing having the kind of weird, funky synth sound alongside just folk music. I guess that's obviously what they're going for, but the synth sound is like the kind of synth sound like a twangy steel guitar. Like, you know, it's almost a steel guitar synth, like things that gets used in like Western movie soundtracks.